The other day at the ashram, I spoke to you about Easter, about the birth of Christ and his resurrection, and the message of Christianity, that is resurrection. An egg is a very significant thing, and it is written in one of the ancient scriptures in India why Easter should be celebrated with an egg. It's most surprising. It's very clear there if one can see how Christ is symbolized as an egg. Now, what is an egg? In Sanskrit language, a Brahmin is called as Dvijaha. Dvihi Jayati means the one who is born twice. And a bird is also called, any bird is called as a Dvijaha, means twice born. Because first the bird is born as an egg and then reborn as a bird. In the same way, a human being is born as an egg and then is born as a realized soul. Now see how significant it is that both are called by the same name. No other animal is called as Dvija unless and until it has an egg form first and then it comes out as another thing. For example, no mammals, none of the mammals are called as Dvija except for human beings. It is remarkable in the zoology, if you read, that mammals do not lay their eggs. They give birth directly to their children. And we are also mammals. But despite that, human beings are called as Dvijaha, just like birds. So that means human beings, when they are born, are eggs, or they become eggs. How do they become eggs? Is the way our ego and superego develop within us. Now you all being only Sahajogis, I think you understand what I am saying. When the ego and superego, what's this supposed to be? When the ego and superego, there's no chart, is it? Develop in a human being to the full extent and the fontanelle bone area is completely calcified, then you become an egg. You get completely separated from your mother, from all the pervading power of God. And you are left to yourself as an egg till you mature within yourself inside the shell of the egg in your freedom to a point where you are ready for hatching. The mother bird has to pierce in the head of the egg and you come out as birds. You are already there inside, developed. And then you fly out into the space of all-pervading power of divine love. So how significant is Easter and why Christ? He came on this earth because he had learned the idea, he had practiced the idea, or we can say that he was an expert on this, that he could himself surpass that hurdle by which he becomes Vadija. But he was that already. But how are you to believe that you can be Dvijas? You can be reborn. It was said by every religion, by every prophet, that you are to be born again. Unless and until you are reborn, that means baptism, not this kind of baptism, but the real one, unless and until the shell is broken on your fontanelle area, you cannot become the Dvija. It is written in all the scriptures, said by all the prophets. Somebody had to show you that this can be done. He being the divine power itself, the Pranava, he being the Brahma itself. His rebirth was resurrection, bodily resurrection. While yours is a resurrection which is in your consciousness. And you see it clearly. This is what Easter is. Now we have to face in Sahaja Yoga ourselves in a full way. Christ was too great, but he came on this earth like an ordinary human being, went through all the pains and pangs of life, overcome the hurdle and became the eternal life. He was eternal life and he became eternal life and he is eternal life. But to show you that you have to also become eternal life, your consciousness must reside in that eternal life. That is only possible after realization if you know the value of that eternal life. If that is your priority, if that is the highest, and you have to achieve that and nothing else. But actually, we have been identified with so many things, like we can say in the egg stage we had the yolk and all these things, and we got contaminated by all the surroundings, that even when we are resurrected, we cannot identify ourselves with the open space. Still our wings have to grow. Still we are afraid to fly. And at that time, you are to be looked after. But if you are prone to go back into the egg stage, you can go back. This is the only difference between a human egg and a bird's egg. Though I would say a realized soul never loses his realization. But it can be so much overclouded that could be that the growth is stunted. The atmosphere in which you live is responsible for that. You must have your own willpower. You must have your own understanding, your own character to stand up to it. You'll be amazed that the chicken that we eat cannot fly. But if you want to see them in the forest, you'll be surprised. They are one of the fastest moving birds. They are exactly the same as the chicken we have in the house. No difference. If you put both of them together, you'll find they are just the same. In the color, in their weight, in their appearances, in the way they walk, everything. But you put them together, and at the slightest disturbance, one will take off very high up, while the other would not know where to run. It will just purr and go into a small place where it will be caught again and cut and finished. So if human beings have to understand the importance of eternal life, they must know that they can change the atmosphere. They are much more powerful than chickens are, aren't they? Chickens can be dominated by the atmosphere. But a realized soul, through his vibratory awareness, through the radiations that are passing through him, can change the atmosphere. He can change his surroundings, he can change his friends, he can change his parents, his brothers, sisters, his relations, his surroundings. He can change his town, he can change his country, and he can change the whole world. Now the Sahajogis have a special responsibility because they are the first to transform themselves. I mean the modern ones. The old ones who are realized souls do not know Sahaja Yoga, so they should not be called as Sahajogis because they don't know about Kundalini, they don't know how to raise the Kundalini, they don't know anything. Moreover, because they have certain amount of consciousness that they are different from others, either they are cynical or egoistical. So the responsibility of the Sahajogis of modern times is so great that they are the pivotal point. They are the turning point. They are going to turn the wave, a wave that can save or mar. One wave can mar, kill thousands of people by its upward thrust towards a wrong direction. And the same wave can save them to the shore. So the responsibility is very great, and the importance of Sahajogis is much greater than any saints who were born on this earth before. Because other saints did not know that if they were irresponsible, what would happen to others. Some of them have written good books, but I'm sure in between they have made mistakes. Those saints who have been great and realized souls did not know even 1,000th of what you know about Kundalini. And they did not even have the power to raise the Kundalini of others and give them realization, except for very few. Like we can say John the Baptist, we had, who would make people go headlong into the water element to cleanse them first, dip them inside nicely again and again, and with his vibrations would raise their Kundalini. But still, I don't know if he gave realization to anyone. He could give, because none of the people at that time speak like realized souls. Still they are seeking. Their seeking has not come to an end. Still they are not knowing. In India there are many people who have written about self-realization. They were at an advantageous position because there are lots of books about it. While the disciples of Christ did not have that advantage. Otherwise they would have also written a lot. But writing is not the main. You can make out a realized soul by the way he speaks. If he is not a realized soul, if he is still half-baked, you can find out. You can very easily find out a half-baked Sahaja, as you can find out an egg which is rotten. You don't have to break it to find out that it is smelling. You can see from the weight. You can make it out if the egg is all right or not, even by putting it in the water. There are so many simple methods of finding out if the egg is rotten or not. There are some eggs which are about to be rotten. Some are absolutely rotten, and some are absolutely smelling. So forget about them. Now one of the first things that happens to realized souls is that their attention goes to the most rotten ones, you see. And to oblige me, they bring them down to me. The most rotten ones, which are incorrigible. And I go on struggling with them. I do not know why such a psychology should exist within us, that we get the most difficult ones to mother, present her with the most challenging task, to give her the greatest, holiest position. But I have no regrets about it, neither have any complaints. But time is wasted. Time is really wasted quite a lot. So it's better to find out people who are not that rotten, to get people who are just all right, not very much spoiled. Otherwise, if the shells are broken, if the whole yolk has fallen down, then how are we to gather it? Now we have most of the eggs quite safe, but we have no way of approaching them, because the contamination that takes place on these eggs is because of heat. They get spoiled. The heat, as you have seen in the body, also is caused by diseases like cancer, or anything that comes as heat from a Sahajogi means there's something wrong. And the warmth of the mother bird only gives realization to the little eggs as birds. In the same way, it is the warmth of the divine love which does the job. But still, human beings do not realize the importance. Best are those who fly at the first opening. Those who do not sit down and sulk and think and analyze, or afraid or frightened, or start wondering, their progress is very slow. Because at the instant of their birth is a tremendous force behind him, and they can easily go out. But if you sulk and think of your fears, the fear will settle down in your limbs and in your wings, and you cannot fly. The thinking and analysis that is going on after realization makes the wings very heavy. That's why I've seen people who get realization in the villages of India, where the people are least complicated, take to their wings without any fear. Just they find them flying in the air, and they manage to learn flying as if it is their birthright. They are just there. No problem. Whenever they want, they can come down and again be there. But those who become heavy with fears or with egos and their misidentifications, fly a little, again flop down. Fly a little, again flop down. Every time they flop down, something happens to them. They are hurt. They try to hurt me by blaming me for what has happened to them. This is the worst part of it. Because they think I asked them to fly, that's why they have fallen down. I give even that much concession because they are still young, still quite naive. But best thing is to take to your wings as soon as you get realization. Now why I am telling you this, especially to the people who have already achieved quite a lot, because you took a lot of time, most of you. So now when you bring new people, when you talk to new people, tell them that we have done all these mistakes and we were real slow masters. And we used to walk 3 paces forward and 4 paces backwards. Now, we would request you to take to this flight and have the joy.